Your intuitive business doesn't have a revenue problem, it's got a structure problem. If you're booked out working all week, generating real sales, but you're still not getting the income that you should, this isn't about working harder. And until you fix that, you're just going to keep working hard and then wondering why it just doesn't feel like enough. See, most intuitive business owners are just doing too much for too little margin, and they don't really realize where the leak is. See, there are three structural fixes that can increase your take home pay 20 to 40% without adding a single new client. And today I'm going to show you how to get that. So we're going to cover three things. Number one, why raising prices isn't about ego, it's actually about margin math and identity ceilings. Number two, we're going to look at how increasing lifetime value actually changes everything and without more marketing. And then number three, we're going to look at how you can decouple income from hours by productizing that your knowledge and experience. And at the end, I'll give you a fourth structural shift that's immediately going to stabilize your cash flow using something that almost no one in this space really implements. By the end of this, you'll know exactly which of these levers is your biggest opportunity and why working harder is actually kind of the wrong solution. See, you don't need more clients. You just need structural repair for what you've already got. So let's start with the first point. Let's start with pricing, because this is really where people really get uncomfortable. You see, when somebody says, oh, just raise your prices, it kind of sounds basic, almost annoying. But this isn't motivational fluff. It's actually math. See, if you're 80% booked or more, and you haven't even raised your prices over the last year, you're not just doing that. You're actually underpricing. That's not judgment. That's supply and demand. Let's say, for example, you charge $200 per session and you see 20 clients a week. That's $4,000 a week. If you raise that to $250 and you keep the exact same number of clients, now you're at $5,000 a week. Same hours, same effort, but $1,000 more. That's about 25% increase without doing anything extra. That's structure. Here's the part that nobody really says aloud. See, raising your prices feels scary. It can even feel unspiritual. You might think, oh, is this greedy? Oh, what if people can't afford me? Or, spiritual work should be accessible to everybody. You might even worry that clients are going to leave. But underneath it all, there's something deeper. It's kind of self-worth. It's sort of an identity. It's the old story that we were all taught about money, right? See, a lot of intuitive business owners were raised with the idea that focusing on money makes you less pure. I know I felt that, and I carried around a scarcity mindset for years. I was told, don't be greedy, and it's better to give than receive. And while that's definitely true, I took it to mean that, you had to be worth less somehow. You might feel, for example, that charging more means you care less, that abundance should be more intangible somehow or philosophical, and all that somehow means keeping prices low and keeping yourself in scarcity. But think of that, it's really more about, actually, you're talking about a contradiction right now. See, you teach expansion, you talk about alignment, and you talk about abundance, yet your pricing might be rooted in contraction. If you undercharge, you burn out. When you burn out, you serve less. That's not spiritual. That's just unstable. See, when you're paid well, you can rest more. You think clearly. You give more. You can help more people, and you can offer others more resources. You can show up better with more energy. You can feel freer and better able to support the people that you love. See, underpricing isn't humble. It drains your energy. And by reducing your energy, you can't show up the way that you otherwise could. See, I can remember when I raised my own prices for my mediumship practice. Oh, gosh, I was just so uncomfortable. I was like, I can't do this. I just felt exposed, almost like an imposter. And I worried that people would judge me. I thought, are the bookings going to stop, or people are going to, never sign up again? I mean, some did leave. My volume dipped a little bit, but that's just price elasticity. And that's basically just a measure of how much your client's demand for your services kind of stretches or shrinks when you change your rates. But you see, from my practice, the right people stayed. And the ones who stayed were more committed. They valued the work more. And I actually made more while working less. The discomfort wasn't about morality, it was really my identity friction. See, my old self image hadn't caught up to my actual value. You may feel the same thing. So, what are some of the ways that you can implement a pricing shift? Maybe just raise your base session rate. You could convert sessions to packages. You could create high ticket containers, maybe offer VIP intensives, perhaps introduce group formats. See, if you raised your prices 20%, what are you actually afraid would happen? What would your business look like if you did raise your prices? Now, you see, pricing alone won't stabilize you if the clients only buy once. And that brings us to the second lever, lifetime value. This is really where things begin to change. And lifetime value just means how much a client spends with you over time. It comes down to three levers. One, how much they spend each visit. Two, how often they visit. And three, how long they're a client. Increase even one of these and your income rises without adding new clients. And if you increase two, you change the economics of your entire practice. See, lifetime value, or LTV as it's known, for a customer, it's not complicated. And here's the formula. LTV just equals the average order value, or the average price, times the frequency of visits per year, times the duration in years. So let me give you an example. Imagine you've got a neighbor, her name's Sarah. She's got a Reiki practice with a loyal client named Maya. So to figure out Maya's LTV, there are just those three steps we talked about. Step one, the average order value. You can term it AOV. Every time Maya visits Sarah, she buys maybe two things. She buys a healing session for $100 and a special bottle of healing oils for $50. So the average order value is $100 plus $50. That's $150. So step two, the frequency. Maybe Maya isn't just a one-time visitor. Perhaps she schedules a visit 2 times every year. So that's the frequency. And then step three is just the duration. And remember how long she's a client. If Sarah provides a great service, Maya might keep coming back for 3 years. So that would be 3. So to figure out the LTV, just plug everything back into the formula. Remember, average order value times frequency times duration, or 150 times 2 times 3. It's $900. So even though Maya only spends $150 on her first day, her lifetime value is $900. So here's an example that you may very well be familiar with. Let's think about McDonald's. Let's say you go in and you order a thing of fries. They ask, want to supersize that? Same fries, bigger size, higher price, no new customer. So the average order value just went up. Perhaps they say, want to make it a combo? Burger, fries, and drink. See, again, they have increased the order value. That's what LTV is. Now, most intuitive businesses sell the burger and they stop. They don't ask for the upsize. They don't ask to increase the LTV. You sell one session and you just let the client walk away. It's time to change that. Let's fix that. Here are some ways to do that. First, you could consider a membership maybe. Instead of $100 per session whenever a person books, offer maybe a monthly plan, say $85 a month, and maybe you include 1 or 2 sessions free for the whole year. Maybe you add priority booking. Maybe you add a monthly guided meditation. Now let's look at the math. A client who books 3 times a year spends $300, but a member who stays 12 months spends over $1,000. Same person, 3 times the value, no extra marketing. So what percentage of your revenue comes from repeat clients? Do you know the number? So let's look at the second method that you can use to shift your business. And that second way is to start selling outcome-based packages. Instead of one-off sessions, start offering a 4-week reset. Maybe the first session could be an assessment. Sessions 2 and 3 are for implementation. Maybe session 4 is for integration. Now you see there's commitment that's built in. Clients not guessing if they should come back. The structure tells them, and the outcome keeps them. And this ties back to the pricing idea, because when you sell outcomes instead of hours, you're raising prices. That just becomes easier. So let's look at the third way. Add simple upsells, kind of like the French fry idea. So your time is your most expensive asset. So increase the value of that hour. Here are a couple of examples. Maybe you offer a premium session that includes sound healing or a recorded summary for an extra $25. Doesn't add much time, but it raises the order value. How about adding maybe physical products like crystal kits or essential oil blends used in a session? Maybe you could add sage bundles for home maintenance or branded journals. How about enhanced sessions like adding 10 minutes of sound healing, maybe a customized aromatherapy blend, maybe a post-session integrated audio or recorded summary of the session or digital meditation track? That is often very popular. See, you can easily add $20 to $50 per session with zero extra marketing, minimal effort, and minimal time. But your AOV, that average price, goes up. Now that's supersizing. So let's look at one of the fourth examples that we can look at here in this whole LTV stack and upsizing. You could just say to your client to really ask them to rebook before they leave. Just ask, hey, do you want to get your next session on the calendar so you can lock in your preferred time? And that question bypasses, oh, yeah, I'll get around to it. I'll call you later. Because statistically, that really means they're not going to call you. One sentence can increase retention 20 to 40%. And as we saw in the LTV example, retention is a game changer. No funnel required. So many clients disappear simply because life gets busy or we don't bother asking for that next session. One sentence can dramatically increase retention. A fifth way to do this would be just track the gaps. If someone hasn't been back in 60 days, send a quick personal message. Not a sales pitch, just a thoughtful note. Builds loyalty, builds longevity, and that longevity builds stability. And if you've got any kind of customer relation management tool, aka a CRM, you can do that easily. Even just a regular calendar is going to work. Now imagine this. Same number of clients, but they stay longer, they buy packages, they rebook consistently, and you upgrade occasionally. Your revenue smooths out, your stress drops, and you're not chasing, you're deepening. See, I once worked with a client who made good money, but was totally stressed by her business. See, she had a practice that generated close to $300,000 revenue, but she had a single session model. And we used a few of these examples that I just showed you, and we converted her business to include several things. We included 3-month containers and prepaid bundles. And the result? The revenue volatility dropped, the average client duration doubled, take-home pay increased, and the constant marketing pressure reduced. Same client count, different structure. So do you know your actual lifetime value, or are you guessing? Because now you can see how important it really is. And this is where the third strategy I was talking about changes everything. Because what if not every dollar had to come from your lifetime that you spend? How would your business feel then? So this third shift is called productizing your knowledge and expertise. If every dollar you earn requires you to be live, you're capped. See, there are only so many hours in a week. You can't clone yourself, well, at least not yet. So think of live sessions kind of like a faucet. Turn it on, money flows. Turn it off, it stops. But digital assets are the plumbing. Once they're installed, they just keep flowing. So ask yourself this. If you stopped working for 30 days, hopefully you're taking a really nice vacation. what income would still come in? If the answer is a big goose egg, then you got to have assets. You already have your intellectual property. You've got processes and frameworks that you use every day. Turn those into assets. Well, how am I going to do that, you might ask? Record a workshop, create a guided meditation series, build a small course, maybe start a membership library, offer digital workshops, launch a group program. So here's an example. Let's say you create a $297 course. Maybe 50 people buy it. That's nearly $15,000 without adding any live hours. Maybe it takes you about an hour or two to put it together. You could literally be making money while you're sleeping. Another way to do it is maybe you create a small group program of premium services. Maybe you're guiding clients together instead of one at a time. Now, I'm not just talking about having a low price group session that are just so common these days. I'm talking about real premium offerings. Maybe structure it for 10 people at $2,000 each. Maybe it's a getaway. That's $20,000. Maybe you're screaming, I can't do that. No one is going to buy it. But guess what? That brings us right back to the limited beliefs you might have around pricing that I spoke about just a few minutes ago. You see, structure multiplies your energy. It doesn't dilute it. Maybe you could start a membership for spiritual expansion and growth where people pay monthly or annually. There, not only do they learn, but they join a special community and their engagement and retention increases. And meanwhile, your income gains stability. So a great example for the course idea actually comes from a client that I once worked with who was generating about $240,000 a year. And she also had a one-on-one model. And what she did is put together that $297 course based on all of her expertise that she had in energy healing. And she launched it to her existing mailing list. And since they already knew her, they trusted her, she had well over 100 clients actually purchase the course. As a result, she generated about $38,000 from that course in 1 month. As a result, she could reduce her live hours by 6 hours a week. Not scaling, just leverage. However, the problem becomes many intuitive owners think, gosh, those digital assets, they just feel really impersonal. It won't carry my energy. My magic is live. I totally understand that feeling because no one can replace you. No one can replace your personal energy. I get it. But here's the reality. Structure amplifies your energy. It doesn't dilute it. So it actually becomes additive. Now, even with digital assets, cash flow can still be chaotic unless you fix this one final piece. So here's a fourth shift that can help you and your intuitive business. You need to stabilize your cash flow. See, even high revenue businesses can feel chaotic when income's random. Feast 1 month, famine the next. And that anxiety leads to bad decisions. So maybe you can use prepaid 3-month containers. That works. Possibly do a six session bundle, and that's all paid up front. Maybe you could do the membership I was talking about. Maybe you could do monthly recurring sessions. Maybe you could do monthly recurring memberships that smooth out the volatility. That predictable income actually calms your nervous system because you're not scrambling to figure out what's going to happen each month. And calm leadership makes better choices. Remember, work harder is not going to solve anything. So take this away. Work smarter, not harder. Put that on your wall somewhere. That's going to help your business. So which one are you dealing with right now? Pricing, LTV, monetization, or volatility? Put it in the comments. Just comment one word and let me know. And if you found this helpful, tell me in the comments which shift really hit you the hardest. I read every single comment. I love it. And if you want me to call out which I think your next move is, drop your revenue range and your delivery structure, like how many one-on-one sessions a week, or you sell packages, or do you have anything that's recurring? And if this direction feels different from my older stuff on this channel, good. That's intentional. So go take a look at why this show is evolving next. It'll explain why intuitive business profit doesn't come from more inspiration. It comes from better structure. Love and light, this is Chris. Bye for now.